Welcome to another episode of Awakening Women's Wisdom, the podcast where we have conversations with women of diverse backgrounds about how they weave conscious grace, thoughtfulness, which is thoughtfulness, kindness, and compassion, into their daily life, and also to glean a little bit of wisdom that they've learned along the way. I'm Rebecca.
Hi, and I'm Laurine. Welcome back to our little podcast. We're very happy to be here, and I'm very excited to welcome a friend of mine that we met, I think, 2018, maybe, in Northern California, Mount Shasta, on a retreat. And we've gotten to know each other through the years, and I've found this beautiful, beautiful soul to be very loving, very warm, very intelligent, and sometimes a really wonderful, and in a good way, badass lady. And I'm thrilled to welcome Diane Simonson, and please welcome and share a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for that lovely introduction. I hope I embody all that you said. Oh, that's great.
You really
do. Well, yeah, I live in Wisconsin, live in a very small community, population of only about 1,000 people. Live out in the country, have always lived out in the country. I am the mother of 3 boys, which is a big part of my life. I also own a real estate company. I have 3 sisters who all live very close by. So we have a very tight-knit family, which obviously comes with pros and cons, challenges, and really big blessings to have them all so close for support. But we do experience, everything together. And I think as I've, grown up and changed and traveled and met new people, all these things have really shown me the beauty of how I live and how I was raised, but also, the diversity. And that's what I love about how you introduce the show. You really focus on bringing people in from diverse backgrounds. And I think that's so important today, probably, as far as how I've experienced life, I think it's more important now than ever, just, finding love and compassion for all people, all walks of life. So.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful to have you here. It really is. It's wonderful to see your face and to hear your voice and to be in your beautiful energy. So let's get started. Tell me, what wisdom are you in the process of still learning?
I think I feel lately my biggest lesson that I'm learning is unconditional love, which I think in a lot of ways that's the big lesson we're all learning, both for myself, which is a big one in itself, but for everybody. Everybody we encounter, whether it's just in passing or, client relationships that I have, or, with my children and my partner and my parents, seeing everybody really as just a fellow human being, having a human experience and making mistakes and loving them through it no matter what. I think, compassion and empathy have been big topics for me lately. And it's come through different things that have happened lately, but that is such a beautiful gift that we have as humans, to be empathetic. And it's a skill, and it's, it's a verb, is what I've been talking about a lot lately. That we have to exercise it. And that's such a big part, I think, of loving unconditionally. And when it comes to, unconditionally loving myself, I think I've been on a path, I guess you'd call it, for 10, 12 years, just really excavating things in myself, why I am the way I am, and reevaluating the beliefs that I've held and if they still serve me, and forgiving myself for not knowing any better maybe at different times of my life. Um, Again, that's part of being human, having these experiences and deciding over and over daily, what you want to believe and how you want to show up in the world. So, yeah, I think that's a never ending lesson to just love unconditionally.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Diane. And I love how you're introducing unconditional love through so many different relationships, making it very fluid. With the relationship with the son is very different than a coworker or something. And I really appreciate that you incorporated yourself under that umbrella and how that changes. So that makes me think back about you living in a small community, which I certainly can relate to from North Dakota, where everybody kind of knows everybody, and then also having family very close. So I'm curious to know what this is. What have you learned about boundaries and unhealthy boundaries?
Yeah, that was a big one for me, honestly, when I started really looking at myself. And for me personally, it was through relationship, my primary relationship. I was married for a short time, and with that divorce brought a lot of questioning and why this didn't feel right anymore for me, even though that was something that I had always wanted and thought, of course, this would always be my primary relationship. It would never end, like most people go into a marriage, right? And that's when I really started looking at my childhood and how I was raised. And I mentioned that we're all really close. We still live really close together. And I remember having a session with a therapist because I really wanted to understand myself more. And, as a lot of people do, I was seeking professional help to just sort through everything. And I remember he said to me, "It sounds like you have an enmeshed family."
Mm.
And of course, I got out of there and I'm like Googling, what does that mean? Um, and I'm sure it happens a lot. Like, I think if you really, really start thinking about how you or any of your viewers that are watching this, like an enmeshed family is basically you're kind of a unit. Your decisions impact your whole family, and you know eh, obviously when you're younger it's different, but as you grow older and you're an adult, you should be free to move as a sovereign being. Your decisions, your life path should not impact your siblings or your parents. As I was finding out, that decision to get divorced was a huge catastrophe, if you will.
Wow.
Like, my whole family were trying to control it, and what does this say
Wow.
about us as a family? And
Yeah.
that was a lot for me because, of course, as an empathetic person, I didn't want to be causing pain to the people I loved, you
Right.
know. So that was a heavy burden to bear for a long time because I just felt so responsible for causing so much pain for so many people
Wow.
that were closest to me. And that, him saying that, it sounds like you were raised in an enmeshed family, almost gave me permission to, like, I needed permission at the age of 25, right? To be like, no, this is my life. um, but I guess going back to, how I was raised, you were praised for putting others' needs in front of your own. You were
Ah.
praised for considering how you did or didn't do something right affected other people. And when your brain is trained to think in that way, you are giving up your boundaries. Like,
Wow.
at a very young age. There's no clear line between yourself and your energy and other people's. And I think that's how people become really empathetic, actually, because they're constantly watching for those signs of, oh, did this make them mad, or did this make them happy? What kind of reaction am I getting from this behavior? So when you're on high alert all the time, you get really good at picking up people's, energy, and then you kind of shape your life around that. What's going to have the best outcome? All the while you're kind of abandoning your own desires or your own, choices that you would have made without those outside influences, right? So that was a big thing to unpack for me. And it gave me a lot of strength to go through that period of time, knowing that I didn't really have a lot of support from the people that I expected support from. But, I would do it again in a minute because I learned so much. I learned so much about myself, and I don't hold any resentment for my parents or my siblings for that. Like that, unfortunately, as a society, I think we value that type of family unit, so that it's not their fault,
Right.
that's how it is. But as I became a mother, I didn't want to have my children kind of unlearn those things that I had to unlearn. Um, so I'm more conscious and aware of the things I say and do and expect out of my kids. Just because it happens really subconsciously, I think. You take on these beliefs that shape your future so easily, as a child, that just carries with you until you have to look at it again and say, does this actually benefit me to still
Right.
operate this way? Or is it actually hurting me and creating a life that doesn't feel aligned with really what I want? And I'm constantly worried about what everybody else wants. And, considering this is primarily probably woman viewership type podcast, I think that's something that women need to hear because we do it so easily, and it's expected in a lot of ways, for us to give up our desires to keep the peace or to keep everybody else happy.
Oh my God, yeah, I can so relate. You just, I'm right there with you. I can so relate to that. It makes so much sense. And bravo for having the courage to make that life choice for yourself. That took true courage.
Yeah, incredible revelation, and sharing it
Yeah.
is so beneficial to hear you share about these things so candidly and just very succinctly. It makes perfect sense.
Is there something that, well, you shared a lot already, so I don't know if you've already answered this, but is there something that you know now that you wished you could have known and trusted earlier in your life?
Yeah, I would say divine timing.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. Good answer.
At that time that I was talking about, everything felt like it was getting ripped down. Like everything was in the demolition stage in my life. Everything I had built to that point was coming down and I had to rebuild. And
Wow.
I was really angry about it, like I fought it for longer than I should have, like I didn't want it to be like that. But I see now that it was truly divine timing. It was divine timing because I am so grateful that happened at 25, not 45,
Yeah.
like, and I see that in women, they go through menopause and they finally say, screw this, like I'm not doing this anymore. Life's too short, whatever. Like I jokingly called it my quarter life crisis.
Ah,
Because
nice.
it was like, but again, I truly felt at the time that it wasn't the right time. Like, I had 2 little kids, and it just didn't feel like the right time for that kind of upheaval in my life, but, I see now that that was such an opportunity to start new and more authentically, more aligned with who I really am, and model that for my kids, model that for my family, model that for everyone, that it's not easy, but it once you get through that really dark tunnel, like, it is so much more freeing to know that you're living an authentic life, your true self.
Huge.
Well, th- this is just such a tremendous conversation about really key things that a lot of us can relate to in one way or another. And you have learned so much having that happen, like you said, the dismantling of so much at your quarter life point. um, Maybe you have a little bit of perspective on this question. How do you hope your presence impacts others? Because you're creating a lot of new pathways, maybe in your community, but certainly in your family. So yeah, how do you hope that your presence impacts others at this point?
I I mean, I always hope that I inspire somebody or make them love themselves a little more or give them the confidence to take that first step or to just say, "Well, she did it. I can do it too." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think a big um shining example that I'm super proud of is how I've been able to co-parent, because I know that that was a big, scary thing that people tried to instill fear in me around when I
Mm.
decided to get divorced was, well, he's gonna do this and, the kids are gonna feel that and whatever. I think it is always possible to create a loving environment for your kids, even in a split household like that, if you can choose daily to be amicable and understanding and
Mm.
let love lead the way. Because those kids deserve that, and my ex-husband deserved that. I deserved that, like we all deserved to still have the love that a conventional family unit provides. So, I mean, that's something I'm really proud of. I'll always be proud of my ex-husband, and I'm proud of how my kids have really um, just been so resilient, and everything has went like I hoped it would, and it was really scary taking that first step. But
Yeah.
I think, there's so many divorces nowadays, and a lot of times kids are involved. So, I just would hope that our story is an inspiration for those people that have the choice to be really nasty or really amicable, and always choose to put the kids first and have an amicable split, because that's what everybody deserves in those situations if that's the decision that needs to be made. um, I fully believe that kids can be just as negatively impacted by an unhealthy marriage as an
Mm.
unhealthy divorce, that
That's true.
there's there's lots of stories both ways, right? Like there's good
Yeah.
and bad on both circumstances. So again, whenever you can choose love, things are gonna things are gonna work out okay, and they have, I think in a lot of ways better than I ever imagined. So um but overall, yeah, just spreading love and kindness and shining my light. That's what I hope people see, and let's hope that's what I can embody, and get better and better as I get older. I'm learning still, as we all are. So
I think you kind of touched on this, and I'll just plug this in, that one of the things that, well, perhaps even part of the reason that Laurine and I were inspired to have this podcast, but one of our hopes is that by having these conversations, that people walking through similar things, having similar emotions, similar experiences or relationships, that they can listen to things, possibilities, and see whether or not those can fit in their life, and maybe thinking outside of a box. Like you said, in an enmeshed environment, it didn't occur to you something else. And I feel like you've provided a lot of those windows of insight for people on these topics. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the beauty of life. You get to experience so many different things and keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are indeed a beautiful soul, my friend. You are indeed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Something fun. If you had a magic wand, you could do anything to change anything in the world, what would it be?
For me, a big part of, I think, my purpose in life is to heal. Heal people, situations, and I think in the future that will be even a bigger part of my life. I think more specifically, if I could take a magic wand and heal those inner child wounds for everybody, I think the world would get a whole lot better, a whole lot quicker.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Truly beautiful, and said by a loving mother.
Yeah.
Clearly. Nice.
Well, as we're so quickly approaching culmination of this wonderful episode, I would ask Diane if you have a little bit of wisdom that you would like to leave us with.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's super simple, but know thyself. You know, that's short saying has been around for a long time, but it carries a lot with it. I fully believe that all the healing and wisdom and love and contentment that you'd ever want to feel is all within you if you just go searching for it.
Well, that's very true.
Thank you for being here with us, Diane. I knew you'd be a wonderful guest. I know you to be a very loving, beautiful soul. And you very bravely shared true things about yourself that it puts you in a vulnerable spot, because I was just in that seat a few days ago. And I truly appreciate your openness, your open heart, and your honesty, and willing to share. Willing to share. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Diane. It's good to have you.
Yeah, I enjoyed this very much, and I hope your viewers do too.
I know they will.
They will. All right. Well, thank you again. And we are so grateful to be able to share these beautiful facets of heart and womanhood and wisdom and grace. We'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.